Hi, Mr. Brown. How are you doing?
Hi, nice to meet you, Miss Tree.
Nice to meet you. Glad you can come today.
Thank you.
I called you in here today because I wanted to go over Alejandro's scores. He has made below the benchmark that is required according to the Vanderbilt Passage Reading Fluency. And so I kind of wanted to go over it with you and let you know as an intervention specialist what I plan on doing to help Alejandro meet his goal.
Okay. Excellent.
So right here you will see this is the passage that he had to read. Okay. The words that are marked off are the words that he got wrong. He got 28 words correct. However, he made 8 errors, which will make him below the benchmark. Now, myself and Miss Wallaby has been observing him now for the past 6 weeks, and this is the last test that he took.
Okay.
Right here, this shows his progress in a graph form. The benchmark that we would have liked for him to be is at a 37. However, after taking the last test, after observing him for 6 weeks, this is where he is right now, 28 points.
Okay, and what does this line right here represent?
This is the goal line, his benchmark.
Okay.
That's his benchmark. That's where he should be, along with the rest of his peers. But like I said before, as you can see, he's kind of below the benchmark. One thing that I wanted to point out is that he is increasing. He has increased. But however, it's only been maybe by 1 word, 1 or 2 words. So right now we have him in, we're thinking about putting him in tier 2 instruction.
What do you mean by tier 2?
Well, there are 3 tier levels. You have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Right here, tier 1, if you want to look at it a little bit, it just says, its progress monitoring probes may be used for the universal screening measure, which identifies students who might be struggling academically. Progress monitoring is then used to monitor said student for the first to 8 weeks to determine whether they would benefit from tier 2 instructions. So that's what happened in the beginning. Alejandro was being observed, and we noticed that he was having some problems. So now we are recommending that he be in tier 2, which is progress monitoring is used to determine whether a student is responding adequately to the interventions. Right now, I would say he is responding adequately. He might not make it up to this goal line right now, but he is making progress. If he was not making progress and if his scores start to decrease, then I would recommend that he would be placed in the tier 3. And I'll just read that for you so you can understand. That's in the 3-tiered model. When tier 3 is special education, progress monitoring is used to determine whether a student is meeting IEP goals and whether the teacher needs to make instructional changes. Progress monitoring data can also be used to help determine whether the student could be successful in tier 1 or tier 2. So tier 3 is more intensive observation, but like I said previously, he is making improvement. So we would recommend that he goes into the tier 2, and then we will observe him again for maybe 3 to 4 weeks and see what his score looks like after that.
Have you noticed any problems with his reading?
Yes, his comprehension, he has a problem with comprehension, actually, and he has a problem with pronouncing his words. He gets the W's mixed up with the R's, and sometimes he gets a little frustrated with that. But if I was to measure him with his peers, it would be more of his comprehension. He's just not really understanding it at a rate that his peers are understanding. What I recommend at home, what are you doing? What are some of the things that you're doing at home?
At home we read every night.
Okay.
We try to read every night, but I work late, so sometimes that comes into a factor. But he has an older brother, but he's in high school, so they're on different levels. I don't know if there's anything else that we could do at home.
Well, one thing that I would suggest is that get books to his grade level. Right now he's in the 2nd grade. I would even go back to maybe the 1st grade and get some 1st grade level books for him to start reading. I think that's a good idea that you are reading with him every night. However, I will also suggest like vocabulary words, cat, dog, ran, and kind of go over those like repeatedly. Give him 5 words a night. Have him say it 5 times. Have him write it down 5 times. And those things can kind of help build his comprehension level and his vocabulary as well. And those are the things that we're going to be working on here as well at school.
Now, I know he's in Miss Willoughby's class. Is there anything else that I could do with her also?
Yes. I would suggest that you get paperwork, homework assignments, classroom assignments. See what she's working on, what books they are reading in class, and I would advise that you get them for home as well. That way he can kind of get extra practice with the classwork that they're doing in school. If they're reading a book, then I would suggest that you get the book. He'll read it at school, but then he can read it at home too. And then have him regurgitate to you what he read in his own terms. And then that way you can
have him remember.
Yes, you can see if he's actually remembering or comprehending what he reads. And then I would also suggest that you and Miss Wallaby have a conference weekly or every other week, whether it be i.e. phone, or maybe you can come in and she can sit down and go over, progress. Because me and Miss Wallaby will be working hand in hand to try to help Alejandro become successful. But Alejandro he's a very easygoing kid, no behavior problems, out of him at all. I can just see his frustration because he wants to learn and he wants to be up there with his peers. And so I can kind of see him getting frustrated. And so I do encourage him a lot. And I've showed him his graph, and I tell him, you have done a wonderful job, because he has increased from where he was before. And so, just kind of modeling that behavior at home too, and then just kind of watching his surroundings, because sometimes when kids can't comprehend as fast as others, they get bullied on, they get teased, and we don't want that to happen for him.
All right, well, I don't think I have any other questions.
Okay.
But when do you think our next meeting will be, possibly?
Typically, we will be observing him again for about another 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
And then when you come back in, I will sit down again like we did today, show you the test that we did, go over the scores, and then if his grades have improved, and if they have improved drastically, which I'm hoping they do, then we can move him from tier 2 to tier 1. Right. However, if we see a decrease in his scores, then I would recommend tier 3 instruction for him. But I'm confident in saying that he should be moving to tier 1 if you work with him at home, and the strategies that we do here at school. If you model those same strategies at home, I have no problem with Alejandro. I think he would be successful. Just the main thing is just getting him to read and comprehend what he reads. Yes, that's what he needs to focus on. Read. He should be reading about 30 minutes a day. And I know you work late at night, so if you get him books that he can read and he can understand, when you get home, then you can just ask him, okay, what did you read today? And he can comprehend with you what he read. And then maybe after that, you can move up to 2nd grade level and things like that. But that's the major thing, just keeping him reading. He needs to read, and vocabulary words. Another thing you can do is index cards, or what's those cards called? Flashcards. Okay. You can do flashcards as well with the vocabulary words, because the thing about reading and reading fluently is knowing vocabulary. So get some vocabulary flashcards and flash them up and say, what does this word mean? So those are just my suggestions.
Sounds like we'll get to it.
All right. Well, thank you,
for meeting with me.
Thank you. Have a nice night.